of you here so early. I was actually thinking with the rain and all, will you make it? But I see that you're men and women of purpose, so that you're here right on time. Congratulations. Okay, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you a little story about myself. I assume that most of you are either just beginning your businesses, or how many people are just sort of starting up their businesses, or are you still in school? I just want to have a general feel of the audience. People who are still in school, still studying, can you just show your hands? Okay, very few. People who are running their own businesses already. It must be one or the other. So where are you? Okay, I see. So people who are in careers, you're working for somebody else. Okay, so that's where most of you are. Oh, well, that's interesting. Because the story I'm going to tell you is about somebody who was once in a place like you, but decided to now start a business. I don't know if you were given a little summary of my profile, but essentially, I'm a lawyer originally. I started up as a lawyer, and after a few years, after graduation, I went to private practice for a few years, and then from there I decided that, it wasn't as interesting as I thought it would be. You know how you sort of think it's like it is in the movies, where you go to court and you have all these exciting cases. It really wasn't panning out that way, so I thought, okay, let me try my hand at corporate law. So I went into banking, and I was the head of legal department in one of the commercial banks for 13 years. But after a while, I started getting very restless. I became very bored. I wasn't fulfilled anymore. I would hate Sunday evenings because it meant I had to go to work on Monday, and I really wasn't enjoying what I was doing. And I realized that, there must be more to life than this, that life cannot be about just getting up and going to work and just doing something and earning a salary at the end of the day. That there must be much more to life. There must be zeal, there must be passion. And I started to talk to my friends who were running their own businesses to find out, how did you decide what business you would go into? And I found that most people said, it's just what I love to do, what I know how to do. I had people who were accountants who were now interior decorators. I had doctors who were baking cakes, and I was like, how did you decide? And I looked at myself and I was like, okay, what exactly is it that I know how to do, that comes naturally to me? And I realized that the only thing that I felt really came naturally to me was the power to organize people and to organize things. It just has been a gift. It's just something that I just do naturally. Maybe because I'm the firstborn in my family, so I've always had a position of responsibility, so I'm just used to bossing my brothers and sisters around. So generally, I just know how to make people do things, and I just know how to get things to work. But I began to wonder, would that really be a successful business? Who runs a business on getting people to organize things? So I started to do some research on the internet, started to read some books to find out if this really was a feasible business. And while it was something that really had not been heard of in Nigeria, in that formal setting, I found out that this was something that was already going on in other parts of the world as very successful businesses. So what did I decide to do? After 18 years in both legal and corporate practice, I decided to bite the bullet and do something different. And I left my job at the general manager position, and I decided to set up an events management business. Now, I want to say, first of all, for those of you who may be thinking of becoming entrepreneurs, but who are working in an institution now, you're doing the right thing. Because I think it's very important for people to have that, the background to be in a structured background, to be in an environment where you learn about authority, where you learn about your peers, where you know what to do. Because when people go straight from school into entrepreneurship, there's a lot you miss out on. So I think that for those of you who are in your professions or careers and are looking to do something different, you're in the right place. So don't think that, I'm wasting my time here, or, this isn't what I'm about. You'll learn some useful things there, and I think you should use that time and make it a useful time for you. So, as I said, I decided to leave the proverbial golden handcuffs, because, that's what we say. When you're in a high-flying corporate job, I had a whole, bank of people working under me, so I really didn't have to do much because I could delegate all my work. I was earning a handsome salary, I had the company card, the tickets abroad, health benefits. Life was good. But these are handcuffs that can tie you to a position and will not let you fulfill your purpose in life. Pastor Shawai was talking about purpose. So sometimes, because you just want to stay in your comfort zone, you're not ready to step out and do something different that will make you fulfill purpose. So, but the key thing, and that's what I want to talk about, is you have to know what your gift is. The Bible says that a man's gift makes a way for him. You have to know what your gift is when you're going into business. We find that too many times people want to do maybe what their best friend is doing. Every profession, everything that is an opportunity, it relates to the type of person you are. That's the only way you can be successful. Now, to be an events planner, first you must be somebody who is very organized. You must be somebody who is very meticulous. You must be somebody who is very people-friendly. You cannot be an insular person, somebody who doesn't like to speak or to talk to people or to go out and think you're going to be a successful events planner. You must be resourceful. You must be somebody who can think on the feet. You must be somebody who is presentable. There's so many things that are a ramification of what, if you were having an event and somebody came to you and was even more disorganized than you, are you likely to trust that person with your event? Absolutely not. So there's some key characteristics that are critical for you to succeed in whatever profession you're in. So that's why I'm saying to you now that you must realize what your gift is. And when I talk about gift, a gift is something that comes naturally to you. Every single one of us has something that we're good at. There is no way. Is there anybody in this place now who thinks that I'm not good at anything? Is it possible? Is it? It's not possible. There must be something you're good at. Some people are very academic. Some people are very creative. Some people are very resourceful. There must be something that you are good at. And you have to look at yourself. You have to know yourself. A lot of people I find don't even know who they really are. You tend to be who maybe your father and mother have called you from when you were young. Or who a teacher, some nasty teacher who doesn't, know that you can fulfill potential and that God has placed something inside of you. Some teacher who has given you such a complex about your abilities. That may be who you think you are. But at this level, at this age, you must decide, who am I? What do I love to do? What makes me happy? What will I, even if they don't pay me? In fact, sometimes my staff, they have to restrain me because sometimes I'm quite happy to work for free. Because I love what I do so much that if I find somebody, once they say it's an NGO, or once they say it's a fundraiser for some, I'm a fool for that, But that's because I love what I do. You have to love what you do. If you don't love what you do, you can't be happy. If you don't love what you do, you don't want to get up in the morning and do it. If you don't love what you do, you're not going to want to even excel at it. But when you love what you do, it just drives you. All you think about is, how do I make it better? All you think about is, how can this benefit people? How can this impact people? How can I, and not because of any, as Pastor Shawai said, not because, you want to make more money, or not because, you want people to know who you are, just because this is about the very core of your being. This is about something you're so passionate about, you just want to see it grow, you want to see it excel. So I want to ask all of you today, you must know who you are. If you're an accountant, you may be an accountant just because maybe that was what your father was, and he said that that's what you should be. You'll be very surprised to know that I started off, doing science A-levels. I was never a science student. But apparently my grandmother died from a toothache, and my father was her only child. And my father was determined that his first daughter was going to be a dentist. And so he was going to groom me into that area of science. But I didn't blossom there because I'm not a scientist. So I actually flunked my A-levels, even though I'm actually quite an intelligent person, but I'm not intelligent in science. And it was when I now didn't do well in my A-levels that I switched to arts. And in a year, I got 2 A's and a B. Meanwhile, in 2 years of doing science, I think I struggled to just manage biology, and physics and chemistry forever remained a mystery to me. So the thing about it is that, who are you? But at that point, I had fulfilled my father's desires up to a stage, and he himself realized that, this is not what this girl is meant to be. So I did it. I now went into law, and by law, I was a 2-1 student throughout. Award-winning student, merit award-winning, because that was my strength. But what I'm saying is that you must be confident about your own strengths and abilities. Because of course, at the time that I was leaving the bank to go into this something called events management, people were like, what is that? Not only was I a 2-1 graduate from Ligali, I went to Cambridge University for my master's in law. In fact, I have one friend who called me and said, Yewande, after your father said you LLM Qatar, you now want to be back. She said it to Yoruba and I'll say, as in you want to be putting up balloons and arranging chairs. Because that was the limit of her own vision. And she said, how could you want to do this? But because I knew who I was, because I knew my background, and because I knew the kind of business I was going to build, I wasn't going to allow any dream killer kill me. And I know those people who have now come back to say to me that, yeah, you were right. And what has happened? I I met a friend once who we were in law school together. He's now at SAM. And he was introducing me to his wife and said to his wife, this girl was a brilliant lawyer. I can't believe she left the law to go and do this thing they call events. And I said to him, okay, now you're a SAM, but there are hundreds of SAMs. But you know what? I have this unusual distinction of being the person who actually brought events management to the fore in this country and opened the way for so many young people to enter into a new area of business. I said, can you say that in your law? And when I said that to him, he kept quiet. So what I'm saying, I want to just contrast with Pastor Shola said, is that it's about purpose. It's about passion. It's about you knowing that there's more to life than just earning a living. There's more to life than just going somewhere every morning and just getting your pay. You have something that the Lord has put inside of you. There's something that the world is waiting for you to do. And I want you to know that you don't have to be afraid. I want you to know also that you don't need pots of money to do all these things. And another reason why a lot of people come into the events business is because it's a very, very low entry business. I mean, all you need is a handbag and your brains and you are ready to go. And you know a few people. You understand? So you will find something that you can do. And how do you start off? How do you begin to make the, the connections? You start with the people who know you. Start with the family and with your friends. The people who won't take you to court and throw you in prison if things go wrong. You understand? So when you start with those ones, then you begin to build your reputation. As you begin to do things well, they'll begin to tell people about it. Do you know what? Everybody can do this thing. Why don't you call her? And then another thing you must find is you must find your own niche. Because even in every business, there's going to be a time where there's going to be a saturation. And that came very quickly in the events business. Because as I've said, you don't need a degree. I mean, you need a law degree to be a lawyer, but you certainly don't need any particular degree or any particular qualification to say you're doing events. That is why a lot of people who, we find that when people are retrenched, a lot of people, the first thing they do is they say, oh, they're now an events planner, without realizing who are you. It's your character, the attributes you have are what are going to make you this excellent event planner or this excellent, fashion designer or whatever. It's like somebody who has no idea of fashion, just because they know that all their friends are fashion designers or because they hear that fashion is the new thing. They say, oh, me too, I want to be a fashion designer. It's what we call the Me Too syndrome. And it's very prevalent amongst our youth. Me Too syndrome. If this one can do it, me too, I can do it. It's never like that. You must know what your own gift is. You must know what your own calling is. And this is when you go after your gift and your own calling that God will make a way for you. So I want you to just really think about that today. What are my strengths? What is the thing that I can do that if I'm doing it, I am so happy? And you know why it's important? Because there will always be, every business has its ups and its downs. And at the time when it's down, if it is something you're not passionate about, if it's something that doesn't fulfill you, you're going to give up because you're not interested. But when you know that it is something that is from the core of your being, it's something that you know, I can't even live without this. I must do this. You will fight that time, that downtime. You will want to rise above that downtime, and you will want to make sure you excel. And when I say excel, I don't compete with anybody. I never even know. In fact, it was because my staff now, because when it comes to IT matters, I'm a bit of a dinosaur. But I have a lot of young staff who, they're on the web and they're looking at the internet and they're looking at other people's websites. It never even occurs to me to see what other people are doing because I'm always competing with myself. I'm always determined that I can do this one better. This can be better. And that's what you have to do. You have to learn to compete with yourself. Because when you're competing with yourself, it's a true competition. And it's a competition that's just saying, I want to hone my skills. I want to develop myself. Another thing that's very important is that you must develop yourselves academically and professionally. So whether it's that you have to earn another degree to do whatever it is that you plan to do, whether it's that you have to earn a professional skill or qualification, it's never too late. At 52, just last year, I still went and undertook an AMP program abroad because I felt that at this time, I really couldn't, there wasn't much. I'm the one that gives lectures about events here now, so I needed to go and learn about other things. In fact, it wasn't really about events, but about management as a whole. It was extremely expensive and it was very time consuming because I had to travel to Barcelona for a week every 6 weeks, over a period of 6 months. But it was so useful because it took everything to a new level. I was now networking with international people who worked in global companies. So what I'm saying to you is don't ever think that, oh, well, you've got there, you have now arrived, so you don't have to do anything, you can just sit there. You have to stay relevant. And the only way you can stay relevant is by continually improving yourself. So I want to challenge you, whatever you're in, whatever position you're in now, if you're still looking for a job, if you're in a job somewhere, if you've started your own business, you can always continue to excel. It is so important because, we're children of God, covenant children of God. He wants us to excel. We are supposed to be the salt of the earth. We're supposed to be the light. So how can it be when we are not the ones excelling in our chosen positions? So I think it's very, very important. So what am I saying? I want you to live your best life. You've only got one life to live. and I am determined that I will live my best life. I have a friend, she's going to come and talk to you later this afternoon, and she always says, I want to die empty. She wants to make sure that by the time she dies, everything that is possible for a human being to have done, everything that God has put within her, everything, every dream that she must have done, she would have done it. And that is the essence of our lives. By His grace, we will all live to the biblical 10 years. But really, the essence of a man's life is not in the number of years, but it's in how well those years that he has on earth. How do you impact people? So it's very, very important. So the message I bring to you today is that your gift will make a way for you. Your natural inclinations are those that will bring you success. So don't look at Mr. A or Mr. B. Don't bother looking at that your cousin who made millions because he was doing the fast food business. And in Nigeria, there's always a business that's a fashionable one. There was a time everybody was doing fast food. It was burgers or nothing. Then there was fashion. Everybody was a fashion designer. Then there's events. And now there's music. You don't even need to sing to be able to be a music star in Nigeria. Because I hear some people and I'm like, maybe this person's mother doesn't like you. Couldn't even say, you are not born to be a singer. But you pick up a mic and you sing like, hey, let them express themselves. But what I'm saying is, those ones will fall along the side because that is not their gift. So, sit down today. Look at yourself truthfully. Decide, don't be bound by what teachers said, what parents said, what friends said. Who am I? What makes me happy? What do I want to be? How do I want to impact my world? Decide that. Know that that is your gift.